This is what democracy looks like.
Show me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Show me what democracy looks like.
We love you, Occupy!
We love you, Walkupy!
You know, and look at this. There's people that are fed up. They want change.
So when you arrived here, what are you feeling?
Let's just keep going. Right now, it's the 3-month anniversary of Occupy Wall Street. September 17th is when they occupied Zuccotti Park. They're reoccupying as we speak. Occupy 2.0. Occupy 2.0. Activity into it all. And I do believe we have a march to go to. So if you want to follow us along the way, you know, we'll be going to the State Capitol building as well as Occupy Raleigh. Please join us. Woo!
Our streets! Our streets! Our streets! Our streets! Our streets! Our streets! Our streets!
Our streets!
Town, get up! Get down! There's revolution in this town, get up!
Get down! There's revolution in this town! Get up! Get down! There's revolution in this town! Get up! Get down! There's revolution in this town! Whose capital?
Our capital!
Whose capital?
Our capital!
Whose capital?
Our capital!
Whose capital?
Our capital!
Who's 99%?
We are the 99%! We are the 99%! We are the 99%!
We walked in, there were 6 of us that were arrested, right? And when we were sitting down, all handcuffed, my hand was bloody, Sarah, you know, we were all in high spirits. And the officers, believe it or not, were some of the most respectful people we ever met. You know what I mean? If they didn't have their shield on, you know what they would do? They would conversate with us with the same.
Hey, you can hear this, guys.
My name is Bohan, B-O, last name is H-A-N. I am one of the Walkupy marchers.
How do you think kids can help Occupy?
The Occupy movement, I presume? What kids can do is watch and learn. You know, learn, because what we're doing, me personally, I believe that what we're doing is for the children. What we're doing is for the next generation. I look at it like, there's these opportunities that come up in our lives, and we have a choice of either letting it slip by and slip through our hands, or we can grasp that moment and really give everything we have. And I look at it like that's what a lot of the young people are doing at the moment. And even to the school kids, the elementary, high school, middle school kids, I really believe just watch what we're doing and be inspired to take that action when it's necessary. You know, this movement is not a fly-by-night thing. I really believe that this movement is going to continue, and it's going to continue, and we're gonna carry the torch as long as we can, and then we're going to pass it on to you. You know, so I just look at it like what the 5th graders can do is be aware of what's going on around them, learn where they can, and also be ready, because it's happening. You know, instead of reading about history, you can actually be a part of history.
Can you tell me about an experience you've had while marching that you found really inspiring?
Just some instances. I mean, I can give you several. Every day when we head out, especially us, what we are is we're a mobile occupation. So what we do is we walk. You know, we're marching every day. We start at 9 o'clock, we end at 5 o'clock. We march all day, and we stop for breaks, of course. Some of the beautiful things that we've seen is we've seen everyone from a little old lady named Ruth. We met on the Virginia-North Carolina line, where she first came up to us and she was like, "What are you doing?" And we were like, "Oh, we're a walking occupation. We're Walkupy. You know, we're part of the 99%. And then she kind of gave us a little stare, and then she drove off. About 20 minutes later, while we were having a little break, she came by. So she pulled her little Cadillac Escalade around. It was a nice little SUV. She pulls it around, and she says, hey, come here. So we walk over to her door, and she hands us these freshly baked butter cookies. wrapped in cellophane with 2 candy canes attached, saying, "Here, take these. These are a gift for you. I just baked these out of the oven." And that's just one example of several where, you know, there's every day we wake up and there's another miracle that happens. Every night we go to sleep, when we rest our heads to sleep, there's miracles that have happened the entire day. You know, to list one, that would be one.
Can you tell me what's an experience that you've had marching that you found inspiring?
That's a great question. Let's see now. Just when people, like I remember there was one house I was passing by, and you know I was already behind everyone, and because this is a slower pace march, we can actually go out and like start talking to people and just telling them, and they had absolutely no idea what the Occupy movement was, and when we said we're marching from DC to Georgia, to Atlanta, Georgia, just the look of shock on their faces, and "You're crazy" was one of the comments, and just being able to outreach to people who have never heard of us before, and being able to tell a little bit of story, a little bit of what we are about, is really cool.
Definitely. Can you tell me about an experience you've had while marching that you found to be very inspiring?
Yeah, there's been a lot of inspiring stuff. I was particularly inspired by the reception that we received in Henderson, North Carolina. The people that we spoke to in Henderson described it to us as a town that is not necessarily a happy place. They said there was a lot of racial division there, a lot of violence and suffering in that town, you know, but you could tell the people that we spoke to were really inspired to see that we were there, that we were a bunch of people who were you know, we weren't coming in with any kind of racism or anything like that, and that we were there as messengers of change and kind of letting people know that a better future was possible and that things are changing in the society. It really, you could see it in people's faces that they were excited and really just happy and kind of inspired to see us there. So I thought that was really cool.
Like, you know, so it's like something like we all like work together with, and it just shows you like the dumbest things in the world can bring anyone and everyone together, and that was pretty inspiring. That it's called like teamwork, and it's really important throughout this march.
Can you tell me about an experience you've had while marching that you found inspiring?
Sure. When we were still in Virginia, one of our stops along the long march was a convenience store by the side of the road, and I was one of the first people to go in there, and a couple heads turned. You know, people wanted to know what we were all about, because we come into this small store and we all got big packs on, and you know, so everybody's like, "What are you doing?" And I was explaining to one gentleman in particular, an older gentleman, you know, that we're marching, and told him the whole deal, and he started to talk. He said that he was involved in the Civil Rights March of the 60s, in the March on the Selma Bridge in 1963. He had also been at Martin Luther King's speech, and it was incredibly inspiring, because he was just so happy to see us, and he really knew what we were about, you know, and he was at a loss for words, you know. He would not take no for an answer. He wanted to buy us, you know, help resupply us, buy us some water. You know, I was like, all right, well, I'll take one water bottle. He's like, no, take more, take more. So he basically paid for some supplies at the stop. Then he came outside and he spoke with all of us, and he kind of painted a small picture of what it was like to be in that historic march on Selma, and he has a scar from a dog biting him in the backside, and you know, and it really inspired me, you know, and I said to him, you know, we're walking in your footsteps, you know, and I think there was a connection at that moment between the marches of the 60s and this march right here. It's incredibly inspiring to me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nothing to do, and I really want to do like a big outreach kind of thing, and so the walking and talking to everyone I thought that was really exciting, so I jumped on that as fast as I could.
So I'm here with someone who's joining Walkupy. Can you tell us your name?
It's Paul Sylvester.
What made you want to join Walkupy?
I was traveling through Mexico and I heard a bunch of things were going on in the States, a lot of protests. I wasn't quite sure what was going on. It was hard to get information. So on my way back, I started finding out a little bit of what was going on in Phoenix. I randomly ran into an occupation in Chicago. I was trying to go visit my family in New Hampshire, and I ran into the occupation in Boston, marching down the streets. Then I really found out what was going on, and I spent 2 months in Wall Street, occupying Wall Street, really helping get the movement flowing and try to keep it alive. And it just became my home, became my passion. People I was working with were some of the most incredible people I've met. And then when Zuccotti Park was raided by the police and we lost our spot, I kind of stuck around for a little while, but then realized maybe there's other smaller occupations doing stuff around the country that I can help out with. And so I went down to DC, and then I came down here to Raleigh. I've been here for like a week and a half because it's been really good, and the Walkupy showed up here, and I decided that that's where I want to go.
So now I'm interviewing one of the other Walkupyers, Nathan. So what made you decide to leave the camp in New York City to become a Walkupyer?
Well, just a point of information. I actually joined the Walkupy March in D.C. I had been in New York City, and I was actually there when they left. There was a lot of excitement around them leaving, and a lot of people were curious about it. But I stayed in Zuccotti Park because I was working with the information and press relations teams there, and I was pretty involved in what I was doing there. So I kind of saw them off, but I didn't participate until I got to D.C. After Zuccotti Park was raided, I ended up going down to DC just on my own out of curiosity to see what was going on down there, and I met up with the guys that were doing the Walkupy, and they said, hey, we're walking down to Atlanta, and I thought to myself, that sounds really interesting, and I've never done that before, so I was inspired to join.
And what message do you hope to spread as you march?
I think my message changes with the weather, for sure, because there's so many things that I'm interested in talking about. Like, I spent a long time just stuck on genetically modified and engineered foods, like really spreading awareness of Monsanto, which I think's been done. I think that people are really starting to understand that our food is under control by a chemical company for the most part. The major issue, what it comes down to, really is that the people that we elect to take care of our country are not doing a good job. They're allowing people to use money as the final excuse for everything. They say that maybe, we had to spend $3 trillion on building new tanks to go to Iraq, to go to war, and everyone says, $3 billion, $3 trillion, how could they spend that much money? That's an illusion. They use that so that it distracts us. What the real issue is that we're building tanks to go kill people in Iraq and Afghanistan. That's the real thing. So they slap this dollar amount on it that distracts, and everybody talks finance, but there's like this real issue behind that I like to talk about. And I spent 13 months in Iraq, so I really do know what goes on over there.
Well, thank you. What message do you hope to spread as you go marching?
Well, the message that I personally would hope to spread is one of peace and one where people will be more involved. You know, that it's okay to come out and start talking about some of the issues that are affecting everybody. You know, it's not just one message. There's many messages, civil rights messages. There's economic messages. So I'm hoping that this will help people be less afraid to come out and to talk about some of the things that we're all facing.
Hello, now I'm interviewing Turtle. So, can you tell us, how did you think that the police were different here than in some of the other places that you and the other Walkupyers have traveled to?
Well, when we've been going to different occupations and stuff, it's usually been an organic thing where if there's a lot of people, we go onto the streets. So there was a lot of people here, and normally, we're very aware of the flow of traffic. We keep to one lane, and let them go by, maybe, and that gives us the ability to see. And here it was odd because we had marched so far along the route. We were only like a couple blocks away, and that's when the police showed up. And in my opinion, they overreacted, I think.
I read your blog and I heard that that there's a verse of "This land was made for you and me" that they don't teach you in school. I was wondering if you could sing that for me.
As I was walking, I saw a sign there, and on that sign it said "No trespassing," but on the other side it said nothing. That side was made for you and me. In the squares of the city, in the shadow of the steeple, by the relief office, I saw my people. As they stood there hungry, I stood there wondering, is this land still made for you and me? Nobody living can ever stop me as I go walking that freedom highway. Nobody living can make me turn back. This land was made for you and me.
That's what those verses were about, and unfortunately in school when I learned that song, when I was maybe a second grader or something like that, they just taught me the really happy part, the chorus, that makes it sound like it's nice for everybody, but really at the end of the song, what Woody Guthrie was doing was asking, is this land made for you and me? Is it really? Because it doesn't seem like it, because some of us aren't getting what we need, and some of us are. And unfortunately the ones that are very few. So that's what it's about. I think that kids can help just by being present, like Phaedra is right now. The fact that she's interested in it is very, very powerful, because when she goes to talk about this, when you go to talk about this to your classmates, they're going to see what's going on, and maybe they'll start asking questions too. Because I feel like the most important thing you can do as a kid is ask questions about what's going on in the world, and not just, take everyone's word for it. Because if you ask questions and keep trying to search for the truth, eventually you might find it, or you might find something close to it. Whereas if you just take everyone's word for it, you might get snowed over in the end, for lack of a better phrase. I just think it's great for kids just to be present here and to come to the Occupy movement, see what's going on, and kind of learn how you can make a communal living space where everybody shares things and everybody looks out for each other.
Thank you.
All above me, that endless skyway, I saw below me that golden valley. This land was made for you and me.
This is nice, I like this.
This land is my land.
Like the first verse.
From California to the New York Islands, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. As I roamed and I rambled.
I roamed and rambled.
I followed my footsteps through sparkling sands of her diamond deserts, and all around me a voice was sounding. This land was made for you and me. As I was strolling from California to the dust clouds rolling, as the fog was lifted, a voice was chanting.
This land was made for you and me. As I was walking, I saw a sign there, and on that sign it said, no trespassing. But on the other side, it said nothing. That side was made for you and me. The squares of the city, the shadow of a steeple, for the relief of this, I saw my people. They spread their hungry, I scattered their waters. Is this land still made for you and me? Nobody living can ever stop me as I go walking that freedom highway. Nobody living can make me turn back. This land was made for you and me. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. Was walking that criminal highway. I saw the lonely skyway. I saw below me a golden valley. This land was made for you and me.
I roamed and rambled.
Me and Puppy. You can see
Everyone knows 1 and 2.
You can see California to the New York Islands, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. Come up here. This land was made for you and
Excuse me, Joe.
I can help you. Can I help you?